Yo, what's up, Posty? I'm a huge fan. Wait a minute. Wait, you're not Post Malone?
No, I'm not Post Malone. I'm MTG Malone, man. I hope you have some time for me anyways. Even though I don't have like all these face tattoos or anything. Hey, wait, before you hang up. How about we do you rate some Magic the Gathering cards? How does that sound?
I'm down. I mean, you'll have to do. You're not Post Malone, but it's all good.
All right, I have tattoos on my arms, so I hope that's still all right.
Close enough.
Okay, let's do this. What up, brothers and sisters, and welcome to MTG Malone with me, MtgA Malone. Today we have a very, very special guest. As you could have seen in the thumbnail in the title already, we're doing one of these videos again. Yes, it's time, but this time we're switching it around. And today we have the master of mill, the king of coin flips, Little Dark Fury. Welcome, my friend. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here.
What's up? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to try one of these videos out. I've seen these before where a certain player looks at a different card game and guesses the cards. I think it's a really cool idea for content. So thank you for reaching out and having me on.
Absolutely, man. I tried this out with Pokemon, like showing like a pro player from Magic some Pokemon cards, but you know, we're an MTG channel, so we should like put some Pokemon players on the spot. You know nothing about Magic, right?
No,
you asked me before.
Nothing. I've maybe played it like once, like over like 10 years ago, but yeah, I know nothing about the game.
That is absolutely perfect. By the way, I love your shirt, man.
Thank you. I love your shirt too.
Thanks, man. Original, man. I was there when Blue came out, man. I'm that old.
Gee.
All right. So I think maybe I should give you like a short introduction to the game. Like Magic is one of the best card games ever made. I would say even one of the best games ever made. So the goal is that you try to beat your opponent, usually like by just destroying their life total. Everyone starts with 20 life. The most basic game style is just attack in, just go face until they're dead. And then you win the game when they're to 0. Of course, there's a way to get life back and stuff like that. And how you play the cards is that you are allowed to play 1 land each turn. That is your mana base. And to play the cards, you have to pay the mana that is shown on the card.
So it's like
there's
an energy,
5 different
right?
colors. Exactly, yeah, but like in Pokemon, you play the Pokemon for free, and you have to pay for the attacks, right?
Yeah.
But in Magic, you just pay for the card, and once it's there, it sticks, and you can do whatever the card says that you are able to do. Like the most basic thing is just play a bear for 2/2 for 2 mana, and it attacks for 2, has 2 toughness, and it deals 2 damage once it attacks. Usually, creatures can only be used 1 turn after you play them, so you cannot use a creature usually the first turn that you're playing it for attack. But yeah, there's of course ways around, and you always play on both turns.
Okay.
So in Pokemon, you only play on your turn.
Yeah.
In Magic, you play on both turns. All right, that is like the most basic. I would just like from here on out, I think like explaining more would take a little bit out of the fun. But if you have questions, of course, I will answer all of your questions. And I prepared just some cards just to, you know, show you a little bit what this is about. So let's start with a classic. This is absolutely a classic card. From the very first set of Magic. If you would like to read the cards, I think that is like the best thing. So this card will I will explain to you what the things mean. So on the left you have the name, of course, which in this case is Lightning Bolt. On the top right corner you have the mana cost. In this case you would have to pay 1 red mana to use this card. And then it says instant in the middle, right below the artwork, which means that you can play this whenever you want.
So even on your opponent's turn, right?
Even on your opponent's turn. That's what makes a big difference to Magic and Pokemon or Hearthstone and card games like this. And then what it does, it just deals 3 damage to any target. Okay. That is just what the card does.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe a simple card would be good here. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Yeah, I think I got the gist.
Perfect.
Sick.
So from here on out, you will be the one reading the card. So I'm not doing your job anymore. Just joking, man. So what do you think?
I think, okay, honestly, looking at the card, so in Pokemon TCG, there isn't really any card that lets you do something on your opponent's turn like that. It's always you do it on your turn, you enter your attack phase, you attack your opponent. I would have to say this card has to be good, right? Like I don't think it's like meta defining, but this card has to see some play, right? I would imagine this card does see some play in some top archetypes. It's simple, but sometimes simplicity is enough to, like, be good.
That is a very, very good, like, estimation of the card. Like, the card is pretty good. You see it still. I still play this card. Like, there's like an older, like a way to play Magic that's called Modern, where you have like more sets that you can put together. And this is one of the cards that I'm using in my burn deck, actually. So it's absolutely a bread and butter card. One of the reasons why I wanted to show the card is, first off, to show you what an instant is, because like you're always allowed to play instances in your opponent's turns. And this is actually the reason why there is a 4-off rule in Magic. Because when this card, like when this is one of the very first cards ever printed, and people were just like, okay, I'm just going to play mountains, which will produce red mana, and 40 of these. And then I would just shoot my opponent in the face like 7 times and I win the game. So that is the reason why there's actually a 4-off rule in Magic. And once more, I want to show you a card that like is an instant, because that is something that is very like Magic-esque and that you don't have in Pokemon. But I think, yeah, it's a bread and butter card. Absolutely. Like, mono red needs this. Like, if this card wouldn't exist, like, there's a lot of archetypes that would have problems existing. But yeah, good evaluation, my friend. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's look at a creature now.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. Cauldron.
There's some text on this one.
Yeah, there is. Okay, so this one. So it's a black mana card, right?
Exactly. You need to play a swamp, which produces black mana, and then you pay 1 black mana, and you can play this card.
Okay, so creature cat. When Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. Sacrifice a food. Return Cauldron Familiar from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, so the first thing that
the important part is just flavor text. So as soon as there's like this italic, it's just, we don't need to read this.
Yeah. So look.
And also important here is the power and toughness. That is what I want to show you also here.
Okay.
This is a 1/1. This is what it's just a 1/1. That means the first number means it's attack power, and the second one it's defensive power.
Okay.
So you have power and toughness. If this were now, for example, just to give you a short hint, if this would be a 1/2, for example, and you would deal 1 damage to it, at the end of the turn, the damage would be healed. So that means that damage doesn't stay on a card. It will just like be healed for the next turn. So the next turn, it will be a 1/2 again. Just short clarification. Okay, back to you.
Okay. So looking at the card here, it's very, it doesn't require a lot, right? Just the one mana. It's got the 1/1, like you said. It does have like a decent effect, I would imagine, where you are putting something into play. So you're sacrificing a food return Cauldron from your graveyard to the battlefield. And I would imagine that's good. Being able to summon stuff from your graveyard probably has to be good, right? So, and it is a bit of a, like, not a cheaper card, but it's, like, not as expensive to use. So I would imagine it's a little bit more like a common card. Maybe use it early on in the game, or maybe it's, like, it's got its niche scenarios. And then, of course, you have the one effect when the Cauldron Familiar enters the battlefield, each opponent loses a life, and then you gain a life. So I think, okay, I'm going to say this card is, I think it's good, but I don't think that it, like, sees a lot of play. I mean, obviously you'll see play in the black mana deck, but I don't think this is, like, a super, like, insanely good card. Maybe more of a rogue card?
Actually, this card was its own archetype.
Okay.
Yeah, like the cat oven deck, there is a card that lets you sacrifice a creature, and when you do that, you create a food token. So what you could do is you sacrifice the cat to this cat oven, which was actually the name of the deck, to the witch's oven, and then you would get a food, and the card would be in your graveyard. So then you sacrifice the food that you just made and return the card to the battlefield. So you would do this once each turn. And so it was his own archetype together with other cards. So yeah, they actually, like, this is a pretty good card, but it was a little bit tricky because, like, you don't really know what food tokens are. And you're right that returning stuff from the graveyard is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's typically like a black thing to do also.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
Okay. I think, this was a little bit tricky, but I did this on purpose. So
that's fine. Yeah. I like the challenge.
There will be some more of these. All right. So what do we have next here? Let me see. I think I will show you in Artifact now, which is also a card type in Magic.
Okay.
There's a lot of different card types.
Ooh. Okay, so an artifact. So it does have a 2. It doesn't, from looking at it, it doesn't have any mana, right?
Exactly. Like, it doesn't have a color identity.
Yeah.
So this is a colorless card. So that means that you could play it in actually every deck.
Ooh.
Because the 2 just means you have to pay any kind of 2 mana. It can be green mana, it can be red, blue, white, black, whatever.
Okay.
You can pay also colorless mana, which exists. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is just a 2 mana card with generic mana cost.
Okay, so that's interesting. So that does remind me of, like, in the Pokemon TCG, we have colorless Pokemon, which are Pokemon that do have, like, colorless in their attack cost, and you can use any specific energy type for that Pokemon. So that, okay, so that does give me an idea of how good this card maybe is, because there are some pretty good colorless Pokemon in the TCG, like Lugia V-Star, Arceus V-Star. Those are pretty powerful cards, and they are decks that can use, like, any type of energy. So right off the bat, I imagine this effect would be good. So being able to put it in any deck immediately tells me that it is playable and has to be good, right? Because you can play it in any deck. It's not just specific to the one type, giving it some versatility. So
to be fair, I don't want to like lure you into traps and anything. So just to be fair, typically artifacts usually are colorless.
Yeah. Okay.
They're usually maybe a little bit more expensive than other cards would be of the same type. Like there's also artifact creatures. And usually an artifact creature that has like the same stats as a non-artifact creature will cost like 1 or 2 more, because in draft, then you can put it in any deck. But just to be fair, colorless artifacts are just like very normal. Like there is some with colors now. It's a new thing in Magic where there's a lot of colored artifacts now. But colorless artifacts is like usually how artifacts roll. So
Okay.
yeah. I didn't want to be super unfair.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
The cat often traps. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
But yeah, let's read the card.
All right. So for 3 mana, it says tap target creature, then return Cyclopian snare to its owner's hand.
So what does tap mean? When you attack with a creature, you need to tap it sideways. So you just like 90 degrees to the right. And that means that the creature is not able to block anymore. And usually when you attack, you have to tap a creature, because then during your opponent's turn, it will not be able to block. Like how attack works in Magic is you don't choose what you attack. The only thing that you choose if you want to attack your opponent or a planeswalker, but we will get to that later on.
Yeah. Okay,
and then the opponent can choose if they want to block or not. Like in Hearthstone, for example, you decide if you want to attack a creature. In Pokemon also, like, you decide to attack the creature of your opponent, or if there's like Pokemon on the bench, which one you want to like throw Shuriken with Radiant Greninja onto that, for example. Like that is like stuff that you usually do. So tapping creature means that creature is not able to block anymore.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with this card is not great, because I feel like I don't know if I like the idea of just like of not being able to like block, right? I mean,
it can be good, yeah. Not being able to block means that you can go face immediately, but that's not it's not an answer to your question. It's just so you know. Yeah,
no worries. It is also kind of expensive, and you did say that the artifact cards usually tend to be a little bit more expensive, because it does say like 3 mana, right? Besides
it costs 2 on the top right. That's the casting cost. So if you want to put this on the battlefield, you have to pay 2. And then to use the ability, you have to pay 3 and tap this one as well. This little arrow that you see next to the 3 means that you have to pay. You have to tap it as well.
Yep.
So that means until your next turn, you cannot use it, because things will only untap in your turn again.
Okay.
And also you return it to your hand. So
yeah.
There's also that cost.
Dang. So when you return to your hand, then you would have to replay it and then do the effect again. So in total, you're using 5 mana to use this card, right?
Exactly.
Wow. So, okay. I'm going to say that it's not great because it is a little expensive. And
it's absolute garbage.
It is. Okay.
It is absolute garbage. I just want to like show you some garbage cards. There is some absolute atrocious cards in the history of Magic, and this is absolutely one of them. There's effects for 1 mana that straight up say return a creature to your opponent's hand. So that would be absolutely better. And with this, you have to pay 2.
Yep.
Plus you have to pay 3. As you already said, it's 5. And then you have to return it to your hand. So this is actually pay 5 to tap a creature. It's absolute garbage. Maybe there's some decks that want to return artifacts, but even then there's better effects than this. So
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that was a good estimation. So we're 2-1 right now. That is pretty good. That is pretty
All right,
good. I'm
6-6.
happy with this. Okay, let's show you one of my favorite cards ever printed, because I want to show you some different card types here.
Yeah.
This is an enchantment.
Okay.
So this is also not a creature, it's not an artifact, it's not an instant or sorcery, it's just its own archetype. So yeah.
Okay, so Doom Foretold. So it does have the 2 mana types. Is that so? You got the black mana, and then is that yellow?
White mana. It's white mana.
White mana. Okay.
We have white, black, green, red, and blue.
Okay. Sick. Okay, so yeah, so it does require.
This costs a total of 4.
4? Oh.
Yeah, it's 2 colorless that you can pay with whatever color. You could pay 2 black, a white, and a black, or whatever you have. Like,
Okay.
it just means you have to have a white and a black. So you cannot just throw this in whatever deck you want and just play it. So,
Yeah, it would already have to have those 2. Okay.
exactly.
All right, so let's see. So it is an enchantment, like you said, and the effect is at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a non-land, non-token permanent. If that player can't, they discard a card. They lose 2 life. You draw a card. You gain 2 life, and you create a 2/2 white knight creature token with Vigilance. Then you sacrifice your Doom Foretold. Okay. So
Vigilance means you don't have to tap it to attack.
Okay.
So it can still block after it attacked.
Interesting. All right, so I'm looking at it. There is a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, yes. Welcome to Modern Magic, man.
But I do think that this card, it does look good. Like you said, the Vigilance, it's able to like do the thing that you were talking about, which I think is obviously good. Even though it does, require a lot of mana, I would imagine that certain Magic decks already are using, 2 potentially different types of mana, right? Like that's probably a lot more common than just like one specific type. So
Absolutely, yes.
okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go with this
I
card.
would say it's more common to go with 2 colors, even 3 or 4, than just 1 color. There are some very good monocolored decks, but they're usually very streamlined. So it's 1 deck maybe in each meta that has 1 color only. And but having 2 or 3 colors is actually pretty normal.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna go with this card is good. I think that it does have a good effect, and it does seem like it might be kind of like the bloodline of a specific archetype in that white black mana deck.
Absolutely. That was a very good estimate. It's actually, there was a deck called Doom Foretold, which was my very first favorite deck ever. Because, I love being a Staxy kind of player that just prevents people from doing things. Yeah. And what this means is that if they have anything on the battlefield that is not a land or a token, like tokens are just like this knight, for example, that you would create. It's not really a card. It's just a token that is on the battlefield. It is a creature and everything, but you don't have it in your deck. Like it's just like you could put down a sleeve and say this sleeve now is my knight. And this card actually is super good because what you did was just like destroy everything they owned, like wipe the whole board of them, and then just take the value. Because the value is insane. Like if they cannot remove this, it means that they have to discard a card, they lose 2 life, and cards are not that easy to get in Magic. Like there's no Professor's Research. We just say draw 7 cards. That is not like normal in Magic. And if you do, you pay a lot of mana for it. Them losing 2 life, you drawing a card, you gaining 2 life, creating the knight, all of that. Now you have to sacrifice this card, so it will go to your graveyard. But there's so many ways to get it back. So many. So usually you played this in a blue, white, and black deck. So there was a blue-white card that just let you take this back from your graveyard to the battlefield. So yeah.
Yeah, this card seems kind of broken then. Yeah, in that context.
It's not insanely broken. Like you still had to have some stuff. I wouldn't say it's like a 10 out of 10 broken, busted card put in every deck you can. But in that archetype, like it was this archetype, it defined this archetype of Doom Foretold, and it was absolutely miserable to play against, which is my kind of favorite playstyle to just make people miserable. So yeah, it was a good card. I would say maybe an 8 out of 10 card that like you would only see it in standard though, like not in extended format stuff like this. But I would say it was an absolute good card, and it was fun playing it. Okay, it was fun playing it. So I think you did well here. All right, let's go back to creatures.
All right, we got Thalia, Garden of the Terisian?
Of Traben.
Traben. So it does require 1 of any type of mana and then a white mana, correct?
Exactly.
White
yes.
mana? Okay. So yeah, it's a legendary creature, human soldier, and then its effect says, first strike, non-creature spells cost 1 more colorless mana to cast. And then
Exactly.
And it's got the 2 over the 1. Okay.
So first strike means if you attack in with this, and the other person also has a 2/2, for example, this will attack before the other one.
Oh.
And then the other one will just like die before you can even do anything about it. So, or if you block a 2/2 with this, yours will attack first. That is what first strike means. And then the other one will just like be dead before it even has a chance to attack.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to say that this card, I mean, looking at it, like you said, the first strike seems pretty good. And I also think that its effect, it's kind of like not a blocking card, but it jams your opponent. It makes them have to use more resources to play the game, right? Because it's making them cost 1 more manta. Now, it's any type of mana, but I honestly, I think this card is, I'm going to say it is good. It looks like it could be good in like some kind of like an archetype where you're trying to make your opponent, have to use more resources to play the game. Because I would imagine this effect would be good.
That's absolutely true. This is for aggressive decks. It's a very, very good card.
Okay.
There's cards that just wipe the whole board. Like, say you have 5 creatures on the battlefield.
Yep.
The opponent can just play a destroy all creatures, and then all these creatures are dead. So that is like very typical and common in Magic. And this card actually was reprinted a lot, like I think 3 times already.
Okay.
Because
wow.
it's just so good. Like the effect, having your non-creature spells will also cost 1 more. But usually you play this in a deck with a lot of creatures where you just don't care.
Yeah.
So just to like bring a little also difference to Pokemon, like you can have 6 Pokemon in total on your battlefield. Like 1 is the active Pokemon, and then you have 5 on the bench. In Magic, you can just have 1,000,000 creatures on the battlefield. As many as you can. So you pay 1 mana each turn, and then the first turn you can play 1 mana, the second turn a 2 mana, the third turn you can play a 2 mana and a 1 mana. So if you have the mana, you can play as many creatures as you want. And this deck was like, this is a creature that wants to help your aggressive deck not getting board wiped as fast as they usually would. Because most board wipes are on turn 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And with this, it would be on 5 or 6. And then usually they already lost the game. So just say, for example, this Doom Foretold. Now, if they went first and they played Thalia, or even if they didn't go first, but they just played Thalia on turn 2, if you cannot remove Thalia, now your Doom Foretold would cost 5 mana, which would make it not as good anymore. And so that's the plan. So this creature for a creature-based deck is actually pretty good.
And is it like splashable and like most different like types of decks will play this, right? Not just like the white mana decks.
You can splash it, but usually like humans, for example, is a very white colored deck, for example.
Okay.
There is also some green-white human decks, for example, or there was some blue-white soldier decks. As you can see, it's a human soldier. And like these Tibalt kind of card, they tend to like work very well together usually. They don't have to, but there's like, for example, cards that says all of your soldiers get +1/+1, which would make this a 3/2, for example. So you would deal 1 more damage. So in those kind of decks, it's very, very good. You would not just splash it in any deck, but if you're playing a white and an aggressive deck, you will play this card.
Okay.
But you will not put this in your Doom Foretold deck, for example.
Yeah.
Like that is that would just be like very counterintuitive to the deck.
Yeah, it would be.
All right. But a very, very good estimation of the card. All right, let's go to this card now. Also one of my favorite cards, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay, so looking at it, this is definitely the most expensive cost I've seen so far.
Yes.
Yeah. So in GOOOO's Wake. Okay, so it is 7 of any type of mana, and then 2 black mana. So that's 9 in total. That is a lot. So that's going to give me a bit of an idea of maybe where this card lies in the meta. And then I guess I'll read the text here. So it is a sorcery card.
That means you can only play it during your turn.
Yep. Okay.
If you remember the very first card we saw, the red one, you can play that whenever. But this you can only do on your turn.
Okay. that does give me a little bit more context, I think, with how I can evaluate how good it is. Okay, cool. So its effect: destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you also don't control. Okay.
We will get to planeswalkers later.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, right off the bat, it does require a lot of mana. 9 mana is very expensive. Now, I would imagine if you were playing this card, you would play it in a deck that can afford to play it. You wouldn't just like put it in any like random like black mana deck or something where it's like, if you can't reliably use it, then what's the point of playing it in your deck, right? So I would imagine you have to already have some synergies in your deck to make this work, because the effect does seem extremely strong. Destroy all creatures you don't control is kind of crazy. That is almost like, is it like almost a board wipe, right? Where you're just like,
yeah, it is a board wipe, but it's an asymmetrical board wipe, what we call it, because their symmetrical board wipe would be destroy all creatures.
Yeah.
End of story. Just yours, theirs, whatever creature there is. But this is only their creatures and their planeswalkers, which we will get to right after this. I promise. I will show you what a planeswalker is.
I'm kind of hyped on that. Yeah. Okay. Right off the bat, I'm gonna say this card is. I'm gonna say it's good. Honestly, I'm gonna put out there. I'm gonna say it's good. I mean, that effect has to be really strong. Just being able to destroy all of like your opponent's creatures sounds kind of nutty, even though this card is a little expensive. And like you said, you can only use it on your turn. I would imagine you have to be playing in a deck where you can reliably use it, and it's not just like a wasted card. So I'm gonna say this card is good.
Gotcha. It's not good.
No?
There's one format where I would actually play it, and that's Commander. Commander is a 4-person format with Singleton.
Oh, I've heard of Commander before, yeah. It's like our GLC format.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Yeah,
like you have one legendary creature, like for example Thalia, that will define what colors you are able to play in your deck.
Okay.
And in Commander, this is a card I would play in a Commander deck. But outside of that, it's not good. It's so expensive. Like usually, as I said, board wipes cost 4. And if you are playing board wipes, usually you also don't play a lot of creatures. So you don't care if your board gets wiped. So this is still one of my favorite cards, though, because it's like in Magic, there's a term of players that are called Timmies, and I'm absolutely a Timmy. I love big splashy cards. It's absolutely my thing, and this is one of them. So yeah,
okay.
Absolute trap. All right, but I promised you I would show you a planeswalker. So let's go to one of the most well-known characters in Magic ever.
Oh, wow.
Teferi the Time Reveler.
Okay, so right off the bat, there is a lot going on here. I see quite a bit of text here. Okay, so
I might have to do some explaining here, yes.
Yeah. So this does require a blue mana, a white mana, and then any type of mana. This is a legendary planeswalker card. Okay. So
and its type is Teferi because Teferi is its name. So the dude is called Teferi. And legendary, this maybe also thing I should have explained before, like with Thalia as well. You personally can only have one legendary of the exact same name.
Okay.
That means you can have 2 Teferis if one is called Teferi Time Reveler and the other one is called Teferi the King of whatever, but they are 2 different cards. But you can only have one Teferi Time Reveler. If you play another one, you have to choose which one you want to keep.
Okay.
Because legendary permanents are usually very, very good.
Yeah.
And a permanent is everything that sticks to the battlefield. The very first card we've seen, Lightning Bolt, is not a permanent because you just play it and it goes to the graveyard. But these cards, everything afterwards, apart from the Garruk's Wake, were all permanent cards. So just to tell you that what legendary means, just to be fair here.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so that's some good context too here. So I guess we can read it here. So each opponent can cast spells only one at a time. They could cast a sorcery. All right, and then the effect. So we have some interesting things here. Stuff I haven't seen yet. We got like a +1 and then a -3 effect. So 2 different effects on this card, I imagine, right?
Yes. So what you have here, the black, the white writing on the black here is called loyalty.
Okay.
That's more or less their life total. So they have their own life total that you can use as a resource. And as you can see on the bottom right, it says 4. Okay. So when this card enters, it has a life total or a loyalty of 4. And then you have to either add some loyalty or you have to remove some loyalty to make the following effects that you will read now work.
Okay, so I'm gonna imagine that the -3 loyalty is probably the stronger of the effects, but let's see. So we got the +1 loyalty. Until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash.
Yes,
Okay.
that means you can play, for example, a Garruk's Wake during your opponent's turn.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that is...
But it has to be a sorcery. You cannot
Yeah.
do this with creature. So a creature is not a sorcery, but in Garruk's Wake, for example, is a sorcery. So you could play that in your opponent's turn. And the first says that your opponents can only play in sorcery speed. That means even if they have something in instant speed, like the Lightning Bolt with the very first card we saw, they are not allowed to play it during your turn.
Okay. All right, and then, yeah, we got the -3 loyalty here. Return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand, and then draw a card. So that seems good. This is the first time I think I've read a card here where it says, like, you can draw a card.
Yes, and the Doom Foretold also, yes.
Oh, true. Okay.
yeah, but still, yeah, the card draw is not so easily to get in Magic. It's,
It's not like Pokemon, right, where you have all these, like, broken cards that draw you cards.
Yeah. Like Professor's Research, if we had something like that in Magic, man, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say that this card is... I'm going to say that's very good. I think this does stand out to me as, like, a good card you would play in an archetype with, like, blue and white mana. And if I'm going to also guess, I think that the second effect, where you do have to require the 3 loyalty, is the stronger effect. And that is what makes this card good, is the other effect, the -3 loyalty.
This card was actually banned at a certain point.
Oh, wow.
And for the same reasons where Pokemon cards get banned, if the environment gets super, like, it's such a toxic environment, and this was one of the cards. Because,
Dang, okay.
like, turning the game into a one-sided game where only you are allowed to play Magic, and the other person all of a sudden is playing Hearthstone, is just not very fun.
Okay.
The first effect is pretty strong because there's a lot of very, very good sorceries that you would use. But usually if you play this on turn 3, you would use the -3 just to get rid of their 1 creature, for example, so that they don't attack your Teferi. Because once it's your turn again, like I play this Teferi, you can just attack this Teferi with a 5/5, for example, and just destroy it. Like, the loyalty is also its life total. So that is why, for example, in Garruk's Wake said you destroy all creatures and planeswalkers. So this would just be get destroyed.
Right, yeah.
Or if you want to attack with Thalia, you can choose, do I want to attack your face or do I want to attack your Teferi? So this card is absolutely busted. What made it very, very busted was the static ability. That each player can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. And it only is for your opponents.
Yep.
That was actually the one part that made it very, very insanely busted. Like, everybody was like, why? Yes, Teferi is like a time mage. Like, he plays with time. He's like, planeswalkers are immortal, yes, and he can even travel time and whatever. He can slow down time. He can make time faster and all of that. But this was going too far. This was just
Okay, yeah. Honestly, yeah. When I was reading the card, I would have expected that, like, static effect to be the main reason why this card was so good. I legit thought it would have been one of the other 2 effects, but that is interesting, and it's kind of crazy. I wasn't expecting this to either be banned either. I thought it was like, okay, this card seems like it's busted in its own archetype. I didn't know it got banned. That is kind of crazy, actually.
like, every blue-white deck wanted to play this.
Yeah.
Because blue-white is a very control-y kind of archetype where you have also counter spells. The counter spell is just straight up, you want to play something, I play a counter spell that just says counter target spell. So you are not playing that spell. And that is just absolutely insane. So that means if you go to your opponent's turn and they're finally allowed to finally play something, you just counter it and then they just don't play anything. So yeah.
Wow, okay,
This card
sounds
absolutely
toxic.
insanely good. Yeah, that is why, like, this card. There's also other effects that are similar, but this was just too much. It wasn't standard for a long time, but at a certain point, we're just like, you know what, let's just ban this. This is going too far.
Jeez, okay.
All right, so we have seen almost all the colors now, but green. Let's show you what green is all about in Magic.
All right, so we got Cultivate.
Yes.
So it's another sorcery card. Okay. All
You
right.
can only play this during your turn, unless you played Teferi before. Did the +1, now you can also play during your opponent's turn. So
All right, 6. So yeah, it does require the 1 green mana and then 2 of any type of mana. All right.
yes.
So let's see. So the effect. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put 1 onto the battlefield, tapped, and the other into your hand, and then shuffle your library. Okay.
That is like typically what you do when you search your library. You have to shuffle. Like it's like in Pokemon.
So this does remind me a little bit of another really powerful card, Earthen Vessel, which allows you to discard a card from your hand and then grab 2 energy cards out of your deck. Earthen Vessel is one of the strongest cards in the format right now.
Only basic energies, right?
Yeah, basic energies.
Yes, okay. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, it would be a
Earthen
little
Vessel
too busted
was
if it
insane.
wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this
like
card...
with Dark Patch and stuff like that.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
Yep.
I dabbled in some Pokemon. All right. But yeah, let's hear your evaluation, man.
Okay, so right off the bat, it does remind me of another very playable card in our format. Now, the first thing to note about it, it does require 3 mana, so it's a little, not like, it's a little cost effective, it looks like. It is a sorcery, you can only use it on your turn, obviously. I haven't seen any of like the green mana archetypes yet, but I would imagine this card, honestly, the effect of getting a mana into play, it seems obviously really, really good, right? Be able to get a basic land in play seems good. Honestly, I'm going to say this card was bad. I feel like the 3 effect just was too much.
This card is actually good. I would say it's between a 6 and a 7 at least.
Okay.
Because what in Magic like gives you a little bit more of an edge is not only card advantage, but also having more mana to play. Because what can happen is that you draw a card and it's not mana during your turn.
Yeah.
So it could happen that you don't have mana to play during your turn. There are some aggressive archetypes that don't care about that. They only need 2 or 3 mana to win the game. But there's like cards like that want to have bigger cards. Usually a 4-cost card is better than a 2-cost card.
Yeah.
So if you, for example, play this on turn 3, let's say, and then on turn 4, you will already be on 5 mana instead of only 4 mana. That is already very, very good, because then you can play something that costs 5, while they can only play something for 3. Also, what this helps with is mana fixing, which means that you can grab yourself, like if you, for example, are playing green and black, you can get yourself a green and a black land, or 2 black lands if you didn't have any black lands before. So this will help you with this. So I would say this is a bread and butter card, typical card. Like usually for this cost, it's pretty good to get 2 lands. You wouldn't just play it and then pray for the best. Like you would play it in a deck where you have a plan afterwards.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't just play it in every single deck. But usually green wants to go big very fast and just play a very big, ginormous creature that has like 7 attack, 7 toughness, while your opponent still only has like a 4/4 on the battlefield. So for green, this is a very, very good card, bread and butter. I would say at least a 6 to 7, yes.
Okay.
You wouldn't throw this nilly-willy in every deck, but
yeah.
you would absolutely play it.
All right.
So, what do we have here? Let's look at lands.
All right,
because I haven't shown you a single land. Usually lands are just, they have no text at all.
Yeah.
It's just you tap them to show that you're using them, and then you produce whatever colors on them. But then there's like some very special lands, like this one.
Ooh, okay. So Field of the Dead. So it's like white mana?
No, this is colorless actually.
Colorless, okay.
You can see it like, but if you read it, I will show you when it says it. I will also like show you basic while you're reading it. I will search it and then I will show you how basic land looks, because I think it's just fair. But in the meantime, just read the.
Okay, yeah. So Field of the Dead enters the battlefield tapped, and you add a. Is that a diamond?
This means colorless mana.
Okay, yeah.
So it's actually not generic mana. It's not like the 2 mana that you have to pay for the Cultivate can be whatever color. This is actually colorless mana, but you can also use it for, let's say, to pay the generic mana cost.
Okay, so whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token.
Yes.
Okay.
So just to show you, this is like what a normal land looks like.
Yeah.
This, for example, is a red land. You tap it, add a red mana. That's it. That is what a normal land looks like.
Yep.
So, but let's get back to this. I just want to show you for
yeah.
how
Just
a
get
normal
some
land
context.
looks like.
yeah. Okay. So, yeah, whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, So, is this like you have to like control like all the different types of like all the types of mana in like one deck basically?
No, the thing is that this, for example, is called Field of the Dead. Then you have a mountain that's called mountain, and then there's lands with different names. Like you can have, for example, Dimir Aqueduct or Golgari Rot Farm or whatever. Those are like lands with different names. Like it's just, let's say that energies have different names as well, but there's like not too many. There's some special energies. This would be like what an equivalent to a special energy in Pokemon. So there's like, for example, double energy or rapid strike energy and stuff like that. So these are the different names that they have.
Okay. All right. So you do need to have 7 or more lands with different names in place. So right off the bat, you do need to really get a lot of these lands out. And obviously, if you're playing 7 different types, I would imagine you have to play some kind of archetype that has a way to get these lands out quickly, because obviously you probably just can't like draw into them and stuff. You have to have special effects, I would imagine, to get them out in order to activate the effect of this card. And if you do control it, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So like you said, you can just like use like a sleeve or something as a token. Okay. So and when it enters the battlefield tapped, you get to add a free.
No, it enters tapped, so it means you cannot use it this turn.
Okay. Oh, so you have to wait a turn, right then?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like usually, like you would play this, for example, on turn 1, where you don't have anything to do anyways, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you don't care about it. And then the next turn, it's like opened up. You can use it then next turn.
Okay. I'm going to say this card is bad. I don't know, like, I just don't think the effect is worth it to summon a black zombie creature token. I'm going to say it's not a good card.
This card was actually banned.
Oh my god, really?
Yes.
Another one?
Yes. The reason why is because, like, with effects like Cultivate, for example, it's very, very easy to get your lands. And there's, like, a lot of creatures that when they enter, they also search for lands. So what this would do is, like, you would maybe play it on turn 4 or 5 already. And then every single land that now enters, if you have 7 different named lands, would make you a zombie. So it was very, very realistic with this deck to just like poop out like 10 zombies in one turn and then just win the game like that. So that was actually, yeah.
Okay, wow.
The card is super fun. I love the card. So it's one of my favorite cards ever printed. They also reprinted it as a special guest in the last set where you were allowed to use it in a sealed environment and stuff like that. But it's a very, very good card. So
okay, yeah. I honestly like, because I thought at first I was like, yeah, you need like the 7 lands out. Like I figured you would play it in a deck where you can get the different types of lands out like fast. Yes. I just didn't think it would be worth it to get the black zombie creature token out. Like I thought it was a little bit too much to work for. But yeah, the fact it was banned, that caught me off guard. I didn't expect another banned card, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I had to put some in here. I mean,
yeah, that's fair, that's fair.
And especially like the other one, Teferi, is kind of understandable, but a land, like for some people, it's a land, you know? Was it really banned? Yes, it was. Okay, so now I have something very special for you. It's actually... this is a real Magic card, I promise.
Okay. Oh man, I gotta see this. Optimus Prime.
Yes.
Optimus Prime Autobot Leader, Optimus Prime Hero.
Magic is Hasbro, so you know, the Transformers are also property of Hasbro, so there was Transformers cards.
Jeez, that's pretty funny. Okay. So now this is interesting. So, I mean, it would be, honestly, I'm kind of praying that this card was good because it'd be kind of cool to have an Optimus Prime archetype. That sounds kind of awesome. All right, so this card does require a lot of mana. So looking at the Optimus Prime Hero card, it does require 3 of any type of mana, blue mana, a red mana, and then a white mana.
Exactly.
All right, legendary creature, legendary artifact creature. It's a robot. Okay. And then
in disguise, but yeah, it's a robot.
True. All right, let's see the effect here. So more than one meets the eye. 2 of any type mana, the water mana, the red mana, and the yellow mana. You may cast this card converted for the mana. Okay, so you can.
Yeah, that means you can play the backside. I sent you 2 pictures here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that later. It means either you play this as Optimus Prime, or you play it as the truck version.
Yeah, the Autobot Leader.
Awesome. Okay. Exactly. But it's like you flip the card, actually. So it's printed on the front and it's printed on the back. Oh. So this card does not have a card back. It has 2 fronts.
That's cool. Okay. All right. So at the beginning of each end step, bolster 1. Choose a creature with the least toughness among creatures you control and put a +1/1 counter onto it.
That means if you had a 1/1, for example, you put this counter onto it, and now it's a 2/2.
Yep. Okay. And then when Optimus Prime dies, return it to the battlefield converted under its owner's control.
Yes. And the converted part, which you can also play as more than meets the eye if you want to, is the Optimus Prime Autobot leader, the backside of the card.
Yep. So I guess we'll read the backside here. So this one is a vehicle and living metal. As long as it's your turn, this vehicle is also a creature. And then trample. Whenever you attack, bolster 2. The chosen creature gains trample until end of turn. When that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, convert Optimus Prime. So kind of like looks like it can switch.
It back.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So what trample is means that, let's say I have a 2/2, you have a 1/1, and the 2/2 has trample. If you now block with the 1/1, the damage that is more than what is needed to destroy your creature will still go to your face.
Oh. Okay.
So if a 1/1 fights against the 2/2 and the 2/2 has trample, it will deal 1 damage to the creature and the other one tramples over to you.
Okay. So you like lose a life, right?
Yeah, you still get 1 damage, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of funny. So I would imagine like this card, it does require a lot. I mean, looking at it, 6 mana is quite a bit. It does have like that cool like double-sided effect. So there's like a lot more going on. It's weird because I don't know. This like I want this card to be good. I want to say this card was good because like I said, it'd be really cool to see an Optimus Prime like deck, a Transformers deck be a meta deck in the Magic the Gathering game. That would just be kind of sick to see.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable. I get the sentiment, man.
Yeah.
Sadly, this was kind of a trap by me. I wanted to show you this card. It's not standard legal. It's not standard legal. In draft, if you had this in your pack, you were allowed to play it because everything that's in your pack with draft is usually allowed to play it.
Okay.
But this was like a special insert in certain packs. You didn't have this in every pack, but there was some Transformer cards. But this is an okay commander card, but it's not even that good. Like, it's what we would call a bulk mythic. It's not very good.
Okay.
But I want to show you that Magic now has like these universes beyond where you also have like Transformers. You have My Little Pony, actually.
That's crazy.
There was Walking Dead cards.
Oh, I'm a big Walking Dead fan, and
Oh, you are?
When you were talking about like the collab here with like Optimus Prime, I was like, didn't I see somewhere that there was like a Walking Dead collab? I'm pretty sure there was like a Negan card, right?
There was, man. There was. I forgot the card about the other one. There was this one Asian character. I sadly didn't see the show.
Glenn?
He was. I think it was Glenn. Yes.
Yeah.
And I was about to show you that one. I didn't know that you were a fan. Otherwise, I would totally have shown you that because that card was actually pretty good.
Okay.
Actually pretty good because you were allowed to play it in Legacy format. It just allows all the cards. And it was in the first tournament. It was legal. The person just won the tournament straight up with that card.
Okay.
So that was absolutely. I should have shown you that.
That's all good. That's kind of cool though. Yeah. I didn't because I figured there was like The Walking Dead because I remember seeing that somewhere. I gotta know, was the Negan card ever good? Because I'm a huge Negan fan.
Negan, I think, wasn't good. But what was funny that there was a secret Lucille card in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The people didn't know that before, but when they bought this, it was called a secret lair. So you would just get these 5 cards and that's it. And there was a Lucille in it. But I think Negan was okay, but not like super busted, like the other one that we just talked about. I already forgot the name because I'm super good with names. All right, so we have some more cards to look at. Let's take another red card here. But yeah, The Walking Dead was like the very first time that they did like a universe beyond, and people were mad at first, but now it's like become super common.
It's more common now, yeah.
They're still mad, but let them be mad. I mean, to each their own.
Yeah, exactly.
I love my Street Fighter cards, okay? All right.
So we got Lava Axe here. So it is a red card, red mana. It's a sorcery card. Requires 5 mana, 4 of any type of mana, and then the 1 red mana. And then Lava Axe deals 5 damage to target player or to the Planeswalker. Okay, so yeah, it does require 5 mana, and its effect.
And it has a beautiful flavor text, though.
It does, yeah.
Catch
this, yeah. Interesting. So, even though it does require a lot of mana, I would imagine being able to do 5 damage to either the player or a Planeswalker is good. It's like kind of like reminds me a little bit of the Lightning Bolt card in a way where it's like it does something where it's dealing damage. I think this card, if I had to take a guess as to how good this card was, I'm gonna say that it was like it was mid.
This was one of the cards where a lot of people wanted it to be very good.
Okay.
But in the end, it wasn't that good. Because 5 mana, and then your turn is over,
Yep.
is pretty bad. Like, it doesn't say end your turn, but to have 5 mana in red is already hard enough, because it's a very aggressive archetype. But if you compare it now to the very first card we saw, Lightning Bolt, for 5 mana with Lightning Bolt, you will deal 15 damage.
Yeah.
If you had 5 lightning bolts, you see, that's like, and this was one of the cards where a lot of people were like, oh, I hope this is good. I hope this is good. And you would play this in draft.
Yeah.
As a removal, like, then it would be okay, but only if you had to. So, like, this was one of the not that good cards that just, yeah, it had to exist, but it's not good. It also got reprinted many times. I don't know why. Maybe for draft, because it's needed for draft, but it's just not that good. Also, what I missed to tell you, there's actually a rarity that you can see in the set symbol. For example, you see the M19 here.
Yep.
That is in black. That means this is a common card. If you go back to the Field of the Dead, for example, that is the M20 in gold, which means that this is a rare card.
Okay.
Optimus Prime has it in like this reddish gold, which means it's a mythic rare, which is the highest rarity. So there's common, uncommon, rare, and mythic rare. So for a common, even for a common, Lava X was bad. Like, there's better removal in other colors, way better than this. Okay. But yeah, sadly a terrible card. Sadly, a terrible card.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those in the Pokemon TCG where it's like a card looks like it'll be good, people want it to be good, and then it flops. It happens quite often in the Pokemon TCG.
I think what makes it in Pokemon even like a little bit more, it's the personal connection that people have to Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you see like, oh, this is like, for example, when I saw the Snorlax the Snorlax mill deck, I was like, I love this deck already because Snorlax is one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. So that was already a huge selling point. So yeah. All right, let's go to, as we're talking about mill, and we both are fans of mill.
Yeah.
What? Okay, there it is.
All right, so we got Terisian Mindbreaker. Terisian Mindbreaker. All right, sick. So, it does require 7 of any type of mana, and it is an artifact creature. It's a Juggernaut, and let's see here. So let's read the text. So, whenever Mindbreaker attacks, defending player mills half of their library rounded up. Jeez. Okay. Or that sounds kind of crazy.
Good, right?
All right. So let's see the effect here. So unearth. So you unearth 1 normal mana of any type, and then 3 water mana, and then return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Okay.
Haste means you're allowed to attack straight away.
Oh. Okay.
So usually creatures have summoning sickness. That is literally the term. When you play them, for 1 turn you have to wait until you're attacking. But if they have haste, you can attack straight up.
Okay, sick. So yeah, so it has haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield. Unearth only as a sorcery.
So yeah, you cannot do this like during your opponent's turn.
Or anything,
just like any creature, you have to unearth this like you would play a normal creature. So if this is in your graveyard, it costs less to cast.
Yeah.
This is what it says. But then it just, after that, it's gone. And exile means it's like the lost zone. So once it's there, you have no way to get it back.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, that effect seems kind of crazy. Whenever it attacks, the defending player mills half of their library. That does sound kind of crazy, actually. So it is a little expensive, but it also doesn't require any specific type of mana, which sounds like a selling point for this card. Honestly, you know what? I'm gonna say this card was a good mill deck. Like, it was a pot. Like, if there was a mill deck in the game, this would have been one of the more like the better mill decks, kind of like Snorlax.
That is a good estimation. What would you give it, like from 1 to 10, more or less? Let's start doing this. I started way too late.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna give it 7 out of 10.
For a mill deck, absolutely 7 or 8 out of 10.
Okay.
For any other deck, you would just not play this in any deck. You would exclusively play this in mill decks.
Yep.
And usually mill decks are blue, or if not blue-black. Okay. So this in a mill deck, what you would do is just throw this into your graveyard on turn 2 or 3, and then on turn 4, play it for the unearth effect. you wouldn't even wait until turn 7. You would just play this on turn 4, attack in, mill half the library, do this twice with another one, you know, and then just, I mean, 60 cards, now it's 30 cards, then it's 15 cards. Then you play another card that says target opponent mills 10 cards, and then the game is over. But mill is hard to pull off. It's not like it's a very popular archetype, but at the same time, people hate it.
Yeah,
they hate it
it's
more
like
than
it's like
anything
for us
else.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't somebody at some regional scoop once on turn 1 once they played their Snorlax or something
Yeah. I
like
think
that,
it was like the
not too long
finals
ago?
of the Gdansk regionals.
Exactly.
It was like
exactly.
Charizard versus Snorlax, and the Charizard player literally has no way to beat Snorlax. So as soon as like they got locked, they just like immediately just scooped it up.
Yeah, that is like what people also do to mill, like because they hate seeing their toys just being thrown away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say in mill decks, this is an 8. In every other deck, you would not.
Yeah,
play
you won't
this
want to use
card.
it, right? Yeah.
So this is very, very specific. All right, so let's look at another land.
Okay, let's see here. So we got Dimir, Aqueduct.
Yes.
Aqueduct.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Cool. So yeah, it is a
That's
lane.
what in Rome, with these where the water tracks in Rome, you know, where the water flew through. That's that.
Okay.
We're learning.
Yeah. So when this card enters the battlefield, you have it tapped, so you can't use it when it enters battlefield, like the other land. Okay. So when it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, and then you add the water and a black mana.
Yes. So this is a land that taps for 2 mana instead of 1.
Yeah. Okay. So
that's what it says.
I'm gonna so looking at it, it would have to be played obviously in like a blue or black, like blue and black mana deck, obviously.
Yes. Just to be fair, this exists in all the colors. So you have it in white, red. You have it in green, blue. Like it usually, I think there's in all double color combinations. There's one of these, if I remember correctly.
Okay. All right, good to know. Return a land you control to its owner's hand. I'm gonna say this card was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems bad. Yeah, I don't know if that effect would be very useful. I don't think you'd want to put land back in your own hand.
Like the thing is, like, it's an okay like mana fixing because you can play this now for 2 mana. There is some decks. To be fair, there is some decks that actually use these cards, and they're very much needed.
Yeah.
But they also have like ways to play a lot of lands during one turn. And to bounce a land in that specific archetype is important. But I would not even put these in my commander decks if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, these are like 2-cent cards. Like, and the thing is, you cannot even play this on turn 1 because it says you have to return a land to your hand.
Yep.
So what you would be doing, you play this, and then you return it to your hand immediately.
It's kind of
useless.
useless.
It's just like, it's kind of useless. It's not a good land. Like, if you compare it to the Field of the Dead, it's very not that much of a good card.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very good.
You're doing well, my friend. You're doing well.
Good to
I'm
hear.
impressed. All right. So, let's look at another enchantment here.
All right, so we got Arcane Bombardment. So it does require 4 of any type of mana, and then the 2 red mana. It is an enchantment card. All right.
Yes.
So the effect. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. Then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment, and then you may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. Okay, so off the bat, this does seem like it looks like it is kind of strong. That's a pretty good effect.
Just to explain real quick, on each turn, means you can do it during your turn and your opponent's turn because you're allowed to play instances during your opponent's turn.
Okay.
Just to put this in the head.
Okay, so the one thing to note, it does require the 6 mana. It is a little costly. But, I mean, looking at the effect, it does look like it's pretty good. Because you're using cards. You do have to exile them, obviously, which isn't fantastic, right? You said exiles like the Lost Zone. You can't get them back.
Yes. But they're exiled with the Arcane Bombardment, which means you would not... they are in exile, but you would put them under the Arcane Bombardment.
So you could still
to show that those are the cards that the Arcane Bombardment can use for its effect.
Yeah. So you can cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. Now that also sounds kind of good. I'm going to go with this card was... I'm going to say that it was good. I'm going to say that it's like a 8 out of 10 card.
Actually, no.
No?
I love this card. If you get it to work, it's a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can play sorceries during your opponent's turn for 1 mana by just shooting a lightning bolt into their face.
Yep.
And now you're playing a Garruk's Wake also, which is insanely good. But to make it work is such a hassle. And usually on turn 6, like, let's say there's 2 ways to play Magic online. You have either best of 3, which is the traditional Magic. You have a sideboard, so you can switch cards out. And you have the best of 1 in Arena, which a lot of people do, where you just play 1 game and then you go. In best of 1, this card saw some play. Not a lot, but some. But in best of 3, nobody played this card. Literally no. I can't remember a single time I've ever seen this, because they're so easy to remove. And if they spend 6 mana without having any value out of it, it's absolute garbage. But a lot of people love this card because it's super fun. It's actually super fun. And it has seen play. It has seen play, but not because it's good, but because people want to make
it work. Yeah. That's fair. Okay.
So in my heart, this card is a 9 out of 10. But on paper, I would say it's a 3 out of 10.
Dang. Okay.
But everybody was like, damn, this effect is so powerful. And there's, in Commander, for example, where you have 4 turns until it's your turn, because it's your turn, then the other 3 players. It can be absolutely insane. But usually it doesn't see too much play anymore.
That's a shame.
Sadly.
Okay.
Sadly. Absolutely a shame. That is absolutely it. It's absolutely a shame. All right. Let us see here. Okay. This is also an older card here.
All right. We got Deathrite Shaman. So it is it's a creature, and it requires the black and green mana. And
what this means is you can pay either one.
Okay. Yeah, because it did look a bit different, right?
You don't have to pay both. You can pay either a black or a green.
Okay. So that does make it a little bit more versatile, I would imagine.
Absolutely, yes. You could play it in an absolute only black deck or in an only green deck.
Yeah.
But you can also play it in a black-green deck, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it is a creature. It's an elf shaman. So let's see. So its effect here. So tap, exile target land card from a graveyard. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Okay.
Yes. To tap it also means you can only do it 1 turn after you played it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have haste. So everything that requires tapping, either being the effect or attacking, you can only do it 1 turn after you played this card.
Yeah. Okay, sick. So yeah, then it has, for the black mana, you tap, exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. And then the other one, for the green mana, when you tap it, exile target creature from a graveyard. You gain 2 life.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at it, it does have some pretty good effects. I mean, each opponent loses 2 life. Seems good. You do have to exile a target, like, in order to use these 2 effects. But the fact that you can play it as, like, the 2 different, types, you have the green effect and then the black effect. So it's a little bit more versatile. Now, if you were to play this in a black or green deck, I would imagine it would be a pretty strong card to have in that deck. So if you were playing this within that, like, black-green archetype, I would imagine this probably would be, like, a good 7 out of 10.
I would even give it an 8 out of 10, if not even 9 out of 10.
Really?
Yeah, like, let us say, some people would give this a 10 out of 10. This card sees play in every single format there is where it is legal.
Yep.
And the thing why is because it doesn't say your graveyard, it says a graveyard. So that means if you're playing, for example, against a reanimator deck, you can just exile the creature that they want to reanimate. So how it works is they would say, okay, I pay 5 mana to reanimate my 2020 creature to then have it on the battlefield. In response to that, you could say, I play a green, tap my Deathrite Shaman, and exile this creature, so now you cannot play it anymore. So that is very, very good. Also, there is lands in Magic that let you sack the land to search for a specific other land.
Yep.
They're called fetch lands. And they're also played, like, a lot. Like, you just play this card, you pay 1 life, and you search your library for a mountain or for an island or whatever. And you then can use the Deathrite Shaman to exile these lands from a graveyard to add 1 additional mana to your mana pool. So that means this also ramps you, which is pretty darn good.
Okay.
So this card, I would say it's a 9 out of 10. Some people would give it a 10 out of 10, but it absolutely sees play in every format that it's legal in. For mostly mostly for the first effect. And later on, the other two effects are also very, very good. But the first one is absolutely insanely good. And yeah, later on, if you have like 3 or 4 of them on the battlefield, and you just exile target instant and sorceries from graveyards, you just start draining your opponent for 2 life every turn. That's absolutely insanely good.
Okay, yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
A little bit better than what you thought, but you have to know a lot about Magic to get these like last bits of
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was a decent guess, I would say, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. I think your guess was absolutely all right. So let's go to this very cute card right here.
Ooh. So Colossification. So
yes.
Yep. So it does require 7 mana. It's got the 5 normal 5 any type mana, and then the 2 green mana. It is an enchantment aura. Okay, so
yes.
Enchant creature. When Colossification enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets plus 20. Oh my god. So this thing just is like a bulky like beast, right?
And what you do, you put this onto a creature. Like, for example, you can put this on your Deathrite shaman.
Yeah.
And now it becomes a 21/22.
Oh, wow. So it basically just, it turns them, like, super big. So it kind of, low-key reminds me of, like, the VMAX mechanic. Or Mega
exactly.
mechanic, yeah, where you
or what was the other one called from Sword and Shield? The, Mega, what was it called again?
VMAX V-Star?
There was this one where the Pokemon became super huge.
Yeah, it's like Gigantamax. In the TCG, it was...
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
in the TCG, it was like VMAX, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it from the normal game. It was like Gigantamax, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
chunky Pikachu, yes.
yeah. There's Pikachu, Eternatus, yeah. So you would turn like that little Pokemon into like a huge beast. And this is obviously a similar concept, except you can do it with like anything it looks like, not just like the one Pokemon it evolves from. So... I mean, that alone does sound good. Now, the downside is it does require a lot of the mana. It does require 7 mana, but honestly, like, it depends on what, like, the meta was probably when this card was good or legal, because I would imagine there are archetypes that don't really care about the plus 20/20 boost that you can give a creature. I'm going to say this card was like a 5 out of 10.
This card was absolute garbage.
Okay.
What made this card unplayable was the tap enchanted creature and not having trample. Because how it works, if you have a 20/20 and I have a 1/2 and you don't have trample, I can still block your creature. Also, there's like target spells that say just destroy target creature. If this would not tap the creature, maybe it would see play. What it actually saw more play with was tapping your opponent's creature to attack it. That more useful. So this is one of the worst rares in a long time. It was super cute. I want it to be good, but it's just for 7 mana. It's absolutely atrocious. Absolutely garbage dumpster fire. Don't play this card. All right. So this card will excite you, I think, because I think an effect like this has only been in Pokemon once.
Okay.
Not too long ago.
All right, so we got Temporal Mastery, requiring 5 of any type of mana and then 2 water, so it does require these 7 mana for the cost. It is a sorcery card, and then its effect is take an extra turn after this one, and then you exile Temporal Mastery, and then Miracle for the 1 of any type of mana, the 1 water. You may cast this card for its Miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you drew this turn.
That means if this card is on top of your library and you draw it, you show it to your opponent and you say, look, I just drew this. So instead of 7 mana, I paid a miracle cost. So it's a replacement effect. So that means either you pay the 7 if you have it in your hand, but if you just drew it, you pay only 2.
Okay, so yeah, that makes it interesting. That does make it interesting for how I want to evaluate this card. Because looking at it, right, 7 mana is a lot. It does have an insane effect. Taking an extra turn is pretty good. There's a lot of cards we've had in the format where that effect has been powerful. Like there's Dialga V-Star, which has that attack Star Chronos, where you do get to take an extra turn. There's cards like Medicham V with Yoga Loop, which saw a lot of play, where you when you knock something out, you take an extra turn.
That one. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, okay. So there's 2, right, in standard right now. Okay.
So,
but it's not typical in Pokemon, right?
It's not. It's very uncommon. And honestly, I don't know if we've ever had a deck that has been like super meta defining where you do take an extra turn, but the effect is very powerful, and it is obviously what enables certain cards to see play. Like Dialga V-Star would be a pretty mediocre card if it didn't let you take an extra turn when you attack with that V-Star
and Medicham the same, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But and you also had to knock out your opponent's Pokemon for the Medicham, right?
So you had to set it up, right?
That for me made it unplayable, but
that's fair. So, I mean, take an extra turn, it would be a lot different probably within Magic compared to Pokemon, where in Pokemon you take extra turn, you can really do a lot of damage to your opponent. You can potentially take out multiple threats in a single turn. Like with Dialga V-Star right now, you can knock something out, get an extra turn, and then you can Boss's Order or Prime Catcher, another thing out, knock that out. You can remove a lot of your opponent's threats, where in Magic, I would imagine it would be a little bit different. I'm going to give this card... Dang. It's kind of like I'm honestly stuck between like it's mediocre and then it's also like super broken. I'm like kind of in the middle there between those two. But then it also could just be super bad, right? But okay, I'm going to say it was like a 7 out of 10.
Sadly, this special like example that I brought here is not a good card.
Oh, okay.
The 7 mana cost, it just makes it super bad. And the Miracle, it's a very fitting name. And I think that your first evaluation of saying it's in between garbage or super good is exactly the definition of this card.
Okay.
If you are able to set it up, and just play it for the Miracle cost, pay 2 mana and take an extra turn and then just beat your opponent the next turn, it's one of the best cards ever. Because I think it was Time Walk. I have to check real quick because it's one of the first cards ever printed in Magic. Which cost like around 2,000 euros or something like that.
Jeez.
It cost 2 mana and it just said take an extra turn after this one.
That's crazy.
It was one of the very first Magic cards when there was no balancing whatsoever. So yeah, but this has the requirement that it has to be the very first card you draw during your turn.
Is there any way to manipulate your deck in order to do that?
Yes, there is, but it's not worth it. Because there's just cards that say 5 mana, take an extra turn. And those don't get exiled. So you take an extra turn, you put it in your graveyard, then you take your second turn, you find a way to remove it, to return it to your hand from your graveyard, take another turn. So there was like some very, very crazy archetypes. And we actually had a card called Nexus of Fate. I will just show it to you real quick. That said, if you play it, put it back into your freaking graveyard, into your freaking library.
Yeah.
So that was absolutely busted. Let me pull it up real quick. Where is it? Just ignore the right side of what I'm just showing you, but I want to do this real quick. So this was for 7 mana, still the same amount of mana, but you would take an extra turn after this one. It was an instant. So you could do this during your opponent's turn, and then it would be shuffled back into your library instead of like putting it into your graveyard. Even if they milled you would put this back into your library. So from wherever. So this card had to be banned. Because if this was the last card in your library, it was just like Lysander's trump card. It was just an infinite loop of cards. You just
it reminds me a bit of kind of like Pidgeot V. Does the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You just shuffle it back into your grave. But this was just absolutely insane. This card was a box topper, so if you bought a box, you would get this card for it as well, and this was the only way to get it. And it was absolutely busted, and they had to ban it. They actually had to ban it. So this, because it's an instant, so you could do this during your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
And you would take an extra turn after your opponent's turn, and then it would be your turn. So the extra turn still is in effect.
Yeah.
And then there's some cards that say double effects, like the next instant you play gets cast twice, and then you would just infinitely take infinite turns, and it would forever be your turn, and your opponent will never play the game again. So this is an example of a good take an extra turn card, but the other one was just sadly
not very
atrocious. Good. I had it in a deck where I was like, oh, this is so good, and then I cut it immediately. Like after 2 or 3 games, I was like, F this card, man. I just don't want to see it ever again. All right, let's look at a exclusively black card.
Oh, dang, nice. That's nice artwork. All right, let's see. So we got...
Oh, yeah, if you like the artwork.
All right, so we got Necro...
I have a ginormous version.
Yo, that's actually sick. Nice.
I'm kind of a sucker for these things, so yeah, I had to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah. There's like some giant Pokemon cards too, where you can get like a,
Oh, yeah.
a thing for them. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah, we got Necropotence for 3 black mana. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down, put that card into your hand at the beginning of your next end step.
So this is before you give the turn to your opponent. There's an end step where you have to discard to hand size, because there's a hand size of 7 in Magic, so you cannot have more than 7 cards once your turn ends.
Yeah.
Unless a card says otherwise, but let's not delve into that.
Okay, so whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down. Kind of tricky. I'm gonna say this card was maybe like a 4 out of 10.
This card was meta defining.
Okay, never mind. All right.
So this card was actually meta defining. It seems like when I first saw this card, I was exactly the same reaction. I was like, is this really good? But it is absolutely insane. Like, there's so many ways to make this card super, super good. For example, like having to discard cards is super good, because there's some cards that cost less if you discard them.
Yeah.
You can then pay them for madness costs, stuff like that. So before they get exiled from your graveyard, you can still react to that and just return them to the battlefield or whatever, or play them for less. And yeah, this card, like back in the day when this card came out, like this is a reprint, obviously. The artwork now is a reprint and everything. But when this card came out, it was absolutely busted. And now also in timeless formats, it's still played, and it's one of the best Magic cards ever, I would say.
Dang, yeah, yeah. Because at first I was like, it doesn't seem like that great, but yeah, you said meta defining. I'm like, well, I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, just pay 1 life for a card is insanely good. Is insanely good, because what this says is pay 1 life for a card.
Yeah.
You get them at your end step, yes, but you still get them into your hand. So that is absolutely insane. So yeah, back in the day, like Necropotence decks, this was one of the best decks. Like, I think it also won Pro Tours. I don't know if it won a world championship, but I would imagine that it wouldn't be hard for this archetype.
Yeah.
All right. So let's look at this card now. This is another Planeswalker for you.
Okay. So yeah, we got Tibalt, the Fiend Blooded. Does require the 2 red mana. And yeah, is a Planeswalker. It's got the different effects. So we got the +1, draw a card, then discard a card at random. And then the other effect, -4, Tibalt, the Fiend Blooded deals damage equal to the number of cards in target player's hand to that player. And then -6, gain control of all creatures until end of turn, untap them, and then gain haste until end of turn. Jeez, okay, so that second effect does, or that third effect, sounds kind of crazy, actually. Especially, yeah, that just seems kind of insane. Now, the one thing
that sounds very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So the one thing that stands out to me is with its requirements, it does require more than what it actually like has. See, it's only got the 2, then it requires -4, -6, which is a lot. So I would imagine if you were to play it, you have to have a way to like give it more, right? To like so that you
more
don't
loyalty, yes.
Yeah, you gotta give it more
like
loyalty.
The first turn you played, it enters with 2.
Yep.
So the only thing you would be able to do is to play the +1, yes.
Yeah. So you'd have to work a little bit harder to use the other 2 effects. So it would take a little bit longer to use them. Okay, so the first effect doesn't seem bad. Drawing a card and then discarding a random card honestly sounds good. And then, of course, you do get +1 loyalty, right?
Yes.
So you would just sit there and kind of do that effect. And I would imagine drawing cards is good in Magic. Like I said, there's no like crazy like Professor Research style card where you can do that. Drawing
not
cards,
for free.
Yeah,
not for free.
Yeah. Because in Pokemon, drawing cards is very common. In fact, most decks need to play ways to draw cards in order to function. So, and it also only requires the 2 red mana, which is kind of cheap. So I'm gonna say this card was like a solid 8 out of 10.
This card was a 0 out of 10.
It was
absolute a garbage card. Like, what makes this card really, really bad? It has no way to protect itself. So what we saw with Teferi, for example, you play Teferi onto board with 1 creature.
Yep.
You return that creature to their hand, and now you keep Teferi for that time on out. This card, it takes at least 4 turns to use its good effect, because the other effect is also not that good, the -4.
Yeah.
If they have 0 cards in hand, you deal 0 damage. And yeah, if you discard a card that you absolutely want and you have no ways to get it back, this is a meme. Like, Tibalt for so long was a meme. Like, he was like the meme lord of Magic. They actually made a good card out of him later.
Yeah.
A very, very good card even. But this card is the reason why everybody was like, screw Tibalt. He's like the most useless ever.
Okay, yeah, because at face value, I'm looking at it. I'm like, it doesn't seem bad. I mean, I know you have to discard a card at hand from random, but you're still drawing cards, which can help. But
yeah, it can help. But just imagine, you draw the answer, and then you have to discard the answer.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
It's just a 1 card. But once more, what would make this card good is if it, like, the +1 would be something like create a 1/1 creature.
Yeah.
So that you can then block the attacking creature and make this one survive. But a Planeswalker that just would die the turn it comes down immediately, it's just absolute garbage. Absolute garbage.
Jeez, okay.
But hey, it's a trap. I want to show you another very bad example of Planeswalkers, because they exist.
Yeah.
They actually exist. All right, let's go to a very beautiful card. I love the art style of this card.
All right, so we got Atraxa, Grand Unifier. Like you said, pretty good artwork. Now, I'm going to say this card does have a lot of mana. It's got 3 of any type of mana, and then 4 different mana types. We got green, white, blue, and black mana. So that in total is 7 mana. It is a legendary creature. Wow, okay, so
Phyrexian Angel, yeah.
Phyrexian Angel,
that part is not that important.
Fair enough. Yeah, and then we got 7 out of 7 for the cost. So it does look like, at face value, it does look like it's going to be a very strong card. So let's see here. So reading its effects: Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, Lifelink. When Atraxa Grand Unifier enters the battlefield, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order.
Yes.
Okay, so...
So flying means it can only be blocked by creatures that are also flying, or that have reach. That is also ability, like, they have a bow in their artwork, usually they have reach, so they can shoot down flying creatures.
Okay.
Vigilance means you don't have to tap it to attack. Death Touch means any amount of damage dealt to the other creature will destroy it. So if you block a 20/20 with a 7 or with a 1/1 Death Touch, the 20/20 will also die.
Okay.
And lifelink means, like, you get as much life as this deals damage. So it's a lot of words. There's a
lot going on. That's fine. All right, so the effect is when you reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards in your hand. So it's a great way to get cards in your hand, I would imagine. Now, it is very expensive, does require 7 mana, and it does require a lot of mana. But you did say earlier that there are decks that do play all the different mana types, or that can.
Yes, there's actually decks
that
that play 5 colors, yes.
Yeah. So...
It's not common. It's very hard to do because of mana fixing and all of that. Like, you would not play, like, 5 different colors in Pokemon, for example. No. But it's possible in Magic, yes.
Okay, so...
And card types, like, this is the reason why I'm showing you one of the last cards I'm showing you this one, is because now you have seen a lot of card types.
So it gives me more, it gives me more, like, context.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, this card does seem kind of strong. It does have that, that flying effect. That could be unfortunate, but looking at it, I'm going to say it was like a...
Oh, flying is good. Flying means it can only be blocked by creatures with flying.
And
it can block whatever. So if a creature is not flying, you can still block it with this.
Okay. I'm going to say, oh man, because it does have a very strong effect. It's the expensive cost, but with all that mana type, I'm going to still say this card was good and that it was a powerful deck, that maybe this was like a potential, like, 9 out of 10?
That is a very, very good estimate. It's still standard legal. This is... this card just, this archetype just won the Pro Tour.
Oh.
Which is like, after the World Championship, like the biggest tournament there is. Some people say Pro Tour and World Championship is more or less the same, but there's only one World Championship each year.
Yeah.
But winning the Pro Tour is just as hard as to win the World Championship.
And
this card is just a winning card, yes. You play this in a green deck, which means that you have a lot of mana fixing.
Yeah.
That will help you, like, search for mana. There's cards that will just straight up find you the colors that you need. No worries about that. It has white, so that means you have a lot of control effects to just wipe boards, gain life back, all of that. It has black, which will help you like destroy creatures. So the deck itself, even without Atraxa, would already be a very good control deck, but Atraxa just is busted, and it brings it over the top. It's not broken, because there's some decks that, like, it's not you play this and you win.
Yeah.
Absolutely not, because you can still just destroy this with a 2-mana spell, just destroy this creature, it's gone. Some decks it will be way too late on turn 7, but this is a busted, not broken card, so 9 out of 10 is absolutely a right estimate.
Awesome.
In the best case, this is a draw 7.
Yeah.
You play this for 7 mana, you just select 7 cards that you want and put them in your hand. And that makes it just very, very, very good. So yeah, that was a very, very good estimate. Sick. I think this was even the last card that I had prepared here.
Ooh.
Let me double check.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had one more.
All right,
and then we're done. And then I will liberate you back into the Canadian outlands. All right, here we are. This is the last card.
Alrighty then. All right, so we got another artifact, Chaos Wand, and then it does have the effect. So it would require 4 of the mana types. It does require 3 mana types to play, but then you need 4 to use it, it looks like. And then it has the effect. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant or a sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, then put the exiled cards that weren't cast this way on the bottom of the library in any order. Or in a random order.
Yeah, but it's
same thing.
Effectively
Yeah.
same but different.
All right, so yeah, target opponent exiles cards from top of the library until they exile an instant or sorcery card. This definitely seems like it could be good. It is kind of expensive though. 7 mana is quite a bit.
Yeah, you play this on turn 3, and then on turn 4, if you hit all of your land drops, you can pay it for it. But you cannot use it unless you have 7 mana. You cannot use it straight up.
Yep. I'm gonna say it's like 4 out of 10, maybe, just kind of like below average.
That is a good estimate. I want this card to be good. Like, this is one of my favorite cards also because it's so stupid and I love stupid cards. But this card is, if you hit nothing with it, there's decks that just have no instant or sorceries. It's rare.
Yeah.
It's very rare. But you could just hit nothing with this card. If you play Commander, for example, this card could be very good because you have 3 opponents. One of them should have instant or sorcery cards, and maybe one of them. But if you, for example, hit something with it, like a counter spell, and there's nothing to counter, you just didn't hit anything. You just spent 4 of your very precious mana to do effectively, literally nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. So I wanted this card to be good back in the day when I started playing Magic.
Yeah.
But it was just garbage.
Yeah. When I looked at it, I was like, this does seem like it's just kind of like very underwhelming.
If you could target yourself with this would be broken as heck. But if you cannot target yourself with this, only opponents, that is what just breaks this card. I wish it was amazing, but sadly it's not. So we finished on a high note here.
True. Yeah,
after Atraxa to the Chaos Wand. But I thought like finishing off with some Chaos is just very, very fitting for this. Dude, I hope you had fun, man.
I did,
hope you enjoyed this.
I learned
Maybe we can do
more
this some
about
other
Magic,
day.
too.
Yeah, we would do this again. One day we would do this again. I would love to come to your channel and do this with Pokemon, but I know way too much about Pokemon.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, this idea could work, but you play the game, so you might already know.
Yeah. So it would be unfair. I listened to all the banned and bad cards podcasts that were ever made when I was walking around in the forest and stuff like that. I would love for you to give yourself like to talk about your channel real quick, what you're doing. Like, I think we're very similar in what we're doing.
Yeah.
But you're just the Pokemon version. So please give yourself some shout out here. I think
good.
Just plug your channel. It's the perfect time.
Yeah. So yeah, I do create Pokemon TCG content on the Pokemon TCG live game. I like to make a lot of videos on just like rogue decks. I play a lot of fun decks, and some of those do include the mill and like control archetypes. Actually, the video that I uploaded today was on Magnezone EX Control, which is a very like rogue deck, but it's a really interesting archetype. And I think even later today, I'm going to record another mill deck for a Bad Deck Friday video. So I like to play all the fun stuff, all the jank, and I try to make like most cards work to the best that I can. I think that's one of my things that I really love to do on my channel.
That is what I like about your channel, actually. Like, you see all the archetypes while you're playing against them, but usually you don't play them.
Yeah.
And that is also something that I try to do. Like, maybe try new cards. If there's a new set, play the new cards, you know. I don't get people that just play, you know, all the old cards, just Charizard EX.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. But, hey, we have seen enough Shining Greninjas and what's its one dragon called again? The, I forgot, the Roaring Moon. You know, everybody plays that. Yeah. Why should I play that, you know? Of course, put one of them in the deck to win the game, but still. So yeah, I think if you are into Pokemon, absolutely check out Little Dark Fury's channel. Absolutely. I will put everything down below. You have to send me the stuff real quick afterwards. And also like a good picture of your face, my friend. All of them are good, obviously. And yeah, thank you so very, very much. It was a lot of fun doing this the other way around because I know way more about Magic than I know about Pokemon. So it was actually like a little bit better maybe to do this. I hope you enjoyed this as well, dear viewer. And yeah, I hope to see you again tomorrow. I don't know when the video will be coming out exactly, but it will be here. It will be here. And it was a lot of fun for me. And yeah, once more, remember, my friend, that if you are waking up tomorrow morning and see that beautiful, beautiful face of yours in the mirror, that all of you are pretty freaking sweet. We are MTG Malone and Little Dark Fury, and we will see you all tomorrow.
See ya.